For our first panel discussion today entitled Surviving Law School, Stories from the Field, we will have a panel composed of law students. First, our moderator is Attorney Rain Gustillo, who is part of the LEAP Secretariat and team. Attorney Gustillo. Well, now you have your time. To join her are students who are also our fellows in the LEAP Fellowship Program. We have Ms. Noreenesse Santos from the University of the East. Ms. Tiffany from the University of San Agustin. And Mr. Robert Sanders, Jr. from the University of the Philippines. I welcome our panel for this morning.
So, good morning, everyone. Again, I welcome the panelists, Noreenesse, Tiffany, and Rob. So, thank you for your time. Let's give them a round of applause first for taking the time to share your stories from the field. So, since our last talk was about mental health challenges posed by law school, so I'll transition from there. So can you share your story about the mental health struggles that you faced from your very own law school experience? So before that, I think you should introduce also your school, where it's located, and your year, if you're still in law school. Yes. So, Tiff, you can start.
Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Tiffany Marisomes. I am from the University of San Agustin College of Law from Iloilo City. I'm currently a second-year law student.
You can start, Chair.
So I started my law school journey during the pandemic. So that was 2021. So we are considered as pandemic babies. It was actually just a twist of faith because I decided to uproot myself from my previous job and finally live the dream, and that is to be in law school, not knowing what is facing me ahead, and that is really the pandemic. So when I joined law school, it was all online. It was very new for me, so I had to adjust a lot of things. And then slowly we transitioned from online to face-to-face. That was where the mental health struggle came in, because I had to adjust from being the four screens, being the screens of the computer, and now finally trying to go to school every day from a full-time job, going to school, then back to my home, and then to study at night. And then all of those things, even the very minute things such as what to wear for the day, caused anxiety for me. So because you had to work things out, because that was part of the journey. Since I'm in law school for my second year, there's a lot of adjustments going on. So from online to face, you really had to adjust. So I have a full-time job, and at the same time, I'm also a full-load student. So I have to adjust so many things. You have to wear so many hats. At the end of the day, I'm not just a law student. I'm also an employee. I'm also a daughter. I'm also a friend. I'm also a sister to my family. So that's where everything comes in, because everything comes up to you all at once during a pandemic, and you don't know where to start coming from all the scratches. That's where I had to work things out, and I realized that if you really want something, and if you really believe that this is where you're meant to be a law student, then despite all the mental health struggles, you'll be able to fly and you'll be able to work things out. 2 years later, I'm still here and still moving forward, still looking forward to finish my journey with USA Law as finally a law student and soon a lawyer.
I know I'm the moderator, but hindi ko pwedeng umiyak. I can't cry. Congratulations. I mean, to sum it all up, congratulations. And you can do it. Is your dean here?
Yes, I would like to acknowledge our Dean, Dean Jose Marie Benjamin Francisco Tirol of USA
Yes.
College of Law. Thank you, Dean, for your support.
Yes. So thank you, Tiff. Thank you for opening up. Thank you for trusting us with your story. So let's move on. Next, we have Mr. Sanders.
Hi. Hello. Good morning, everyone. I'm Robert Sanders, fourth year from here, UP Law. I started law school 2019, so it was for a few months before the pandemic, and then it hit. I plan on just blending in today. My outfit and the couch. No, I was supposed to sit there, but it's the same hue, and then I sat here, and it's still the same hue, but that's okay. Okay. So mental health. Okay. I just found it kind of funny because as we were being introduced now, they're not just numbers, they're also stories, and then you have these trauma survivors here on the stage. But that's not really the point. The point is really to open up the conversation and say, it's okay to talk about these things, and they're your lived experiences. I'm sure they're not just our experiences, but everyone else's too, even the professors when you were younger, I'm sure. So my struggle really comes from, I guess, this dissonance I get with law school. I enjoy law school. It's fun. Things make sense. Some things don't make sense, and it's fun to investigate why they were ruled that way, or why that's how it works. But the problem really comes from the real life side of it. Before, I used to treat law school as like an escape. Like, it's something I kind of understand. So it's something that I can excel at, I'm good at. But eventually I kind of noticed that I'm using law school to, not deal with the problems that I have in real life. There are some people who do that, running away in the form of diving into. And because law school is so expansive, you can do that. Eventually it ended up, I wasn't really taking care of myself. I wasn't really taking care of my family. And then there's this weird interaction where if I want to excel in this profession, I have to give my all to it because I don't have a name. I mean, I'm not one of those nepotism babies that I can just claw my way up the industry. Or not that there's anything wrong with that. Or not really well connected. So the only way that you can make it in here and make your life better and your family's life better is by excelling and doing extraordinarily well. And law is a really hard field to do that in. So there's kind of that dissonance. So eventually, it just got kind of really bad that thankfully my support systems, my family, my friends pointed it out and said, you have to take care of this. So some of the issues are entirely personal. They're my own. They were brought about by my family and how I grew up. But I mean, some of the issues are also kind of systemic and institutional. There's this problem with expecting people to be excellent all the time, because even out there in practice, people aren't excellent all the time, and that's okay. I mean, that's how the world works. But when you're in a classroom and it's sort of hyper-realistic, right? It's a simulation, but also the way you treat people in there, it has effects. If you tell people they're wrong or they didn't study, or like, are you really, and like, how did you pass this exam, or like, how are you in here, or you're wasting the taxpayers' money, or something like that. I mean, it seems kind of innocuous and it seems kind of right, but it makes people question, like, did I study? Am I worth it? Am I enough? And those are, pretty serious existential questions that can affect people's performance. And it can kind of teach them to treat other people that way too. Especially, I mean, it may be hard for people who benefited from this kind of system, those who persevered and survived and thrived and succeeded all throughout it. They take it as a badge of honor. Sometimes that's fine because you really did survive through it. But those people, they have a problem with changing this framework because they benefited so much from it. And maybe if we don't keep that level that high, the value with which they're perceived won't be as high, or like they will see people inducted into the profession who they see as lower than them or less than. And there's that tendency with any generation, really. There's people who took the bar from one year who was supposed to be tougher compared to the other. There are people who entered law school before the pandemic, during the pandemic, after the pandemic. There's always that. But I mean, we're all just here to try to become lawyers. We're all just here to study law, like make a better life for ourselves. You don't need to treat each other that badly. And the other key thing I wanted to point out was, the mental health struggle in law school, not just limited to students. I mean, I can imagine the pressure as a student. Imagine being a professor. Like, you can't you say one wrong thing in front of students, and there's also, so it harms a lot of people. This current mindset. It's not unnecessarily hard on just one side. Imagine being a law administrator and you have to deal with these mental health problems of all your stakeholders and balancing your own. It really calls for an overhaul, like a reframing of what we think of school and what we think of the profession that we're training for. Because eventually those will ripple out. I'm really thankful that there's like a place where we can just have everybody sit down and say, it's okay to talk about these things. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength because you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable in front of other people and letting them understand you better. If you just operate with your walls so high all the time, people will never know you have a problem in the first place. And in the law, there's a lot of bravado. Maybe that's not serving us right anymore, at least in law school. So, yeah, thank you.
Wow. I promise not to cry. Do not cry. So thank you for those stories. So you have here Tiff, who had to take on so many hats. And now we have Rob. I just want to share a small anecdote. Yeah, the part where you said that the professors would always say, oh, we had it worse. Like, you should be thankful that we're not throwing things at you. I think at some point, all of us law students have heard that phrase in one way or the other. So, yes. And it was interesting when you first pointed out that you entered law school because you wanted that to be your escape. But it eventually became, sorry for the term, a hellhole, is that?
Hindi naman.
Hindi naman, okay.
Happy ka naman sa mga dean dito. It's not a hellhole.
Yeah.
It's just...
So, it was a hard place to manage. And thankfully, now that you've opened up about it, hopefully you would still go back to that, for your first thinking that law school is your escape from everything, hopefully. Sorry.
No, hopefully it won't be an escape. It's just, normal life, and you just balance it. Hindi siya unhealthy. But sorry, go.
Yes. So, thank you, Rob. I mean, the fact that you opened up about it, gave your time to open up about it, is something to already commend you for. So, of course, I called your dean. Your dean is not here, but I'm sure nasa taas lang siya somewhere. So, hello, Dean Bistan! Because, of course, we will also acknowledge Dean. So, I think taas siya. Yeah, so thank you again, Rob. Next, we have Noreenesse.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Noreenesse Santos from the University of the East Manila. So I just recently graduated and I took up the bar this November. God willing, I will be signing the roles. So I'm actually diagnosed with bipolar depression type 2. I found out during my second year in law school. So I just want to share that I found this out because of dozen problems. It was a snowball effect. Eventually, I really gave in to the dark side, so I'm actually a survivor. And one of the proudest moments of my life is deciding to go back to law school. When I decided to go back to law school, I'm actually in medication. I had 6 medications, so per day, I had to drink several antidepressants, anti-anxiety medicines, and also mood stabilizers. And this medicines, they have a side effect. You get really sleepy. And when you get depression or any mental health, your memory retention gets really poor. So eventually, I got poor grades and I had to transfer school. So I went to UE Manila, and thankfully, Dean Viviana Martin Pagirigan accepted me. So thank you, Dean, from Australia. And I graduated this year. So I found that you really have to make sure that your purpose in being a lawyer, it should always be in your heart, not only in your mind. So when it gets painful, it will really be painful. You know, when you enter the legal profession, you know that you did not choose the easy life. So you have to be prepared for it. And even if you did not choose the legal profession, life will always give you pain. So when life gets hard, you should act from your heart and not from your pain. So this bar season, when I started the exam, I actually fell from the stairs, and I got into an accident wherein I had to think if I should also continue with the bar. And I kind of felt myself relapsing because it was really depressing, you know. Suddenly, my life, which is already planned for me, I thought I was getting better. I felt like I had to stop again. But with the support of my family and my friends, I really pushed through, and I just made the risk to take the bar. So for me, again, when you want to be a lawyer, just make sure that you have the proper purpose and essence in going into the legal profession, so that even if it gets hard, you will still survive.
So, quotable quote for today: act with your heart, not your pain. Is that your quote, or is...
Yes, I've actually always written this for whenever I get interviewed, because my story for bipolar depression is always being asked by several blogs po.
Oh, Hallmark, baka naman. So, thank you also, Nor, for treating this panel as a safe space. I mean, I commend the three of you. I know I've said it before. I have commend the three of you for sharing your stories, because I know it's hard, especially since you don't know the people in front of you. So thank you for that. So since you've shared your story, and you mentioned already your dean, so your dean wherever she is, Australia. So Prof. Ben, Australia, the kangaroos. Okay, so, but kidding aside, since you've already shared your stories, I think I want the next portion to be a message, an inspiring message. I think whatever you say naman will be inspiring, but an inspiring message to those who are watching, to everyone here. I know there are already professors and administrators and deans, but I think in life you will always learn something new. So if you can just address them as your final message, in a way that they will be able to also apply it in their own law schools. Let's start with Tiff.
Getting into law school, you really have to be prepared, not only physically, but also mentally, spiritually, financially, all the least that you could think of. You have to be prepared for that. And sometimes you find yourself asking, why do I want to be here? For me, I want to be here because I promised my dad, who died recently, that I will continue his dream to be a lawyer. But then, during the course of things, and you find yourself struggling, it's no longer why I want to be here, but why I need to be here, and why I should be here. And that's what you have to think of every single day for you to continue to be here, and for you to continue to just take a risk, find a chance, leave all the comforts of your life, and then get into law school, and finally live the dream that you want to live of, if it is really what you want. And then at the course of things, you will realize that being here is not just a privilege. Being here is not just a right. Being here is a purpose. It's a mission. So you should do something, not just for yourself, not just for your family, not just for the many, many hats that you wear, but for society and for the Philippines as a whole. Because now is the time that we need young lawyers like us, lawyers who have the heart, lawyers who have the purpose, lawyers who believe that, hey, there is a better world out there and the legal profession will be able to do its share, its noble part in the society. So for us, law students, every single day when you find yourself no longer wanting to read, no longer wanting to start, reflect, take a pause, then re-examine why you want to be here and why you need to be here, why you should be here. And then you will continue. For our family and friends, of course, those who are listening, you should know that you are the pillars that make us whole. We are not here without all of you. For me, I will always be thankful for my sisters. Sometimes I cannot print my cases, they will print for me. I can barely eat because I have to do a lot of things. My sisters would come up to my room, just leave food outside, and I'll pick it up. I feel like I'm in quarantine even if I'm not at all. But just for my sister's support, for my friends who I could rant on so many things, for my friends who would never get tired of supporting, and I believe they are watching right now in the live stream. Thank you. I would not be able to survive my first year in law school without you. And I believe that if there's a reason why I'm here, you are all part of that reason. This is the reason why we are here today, to be able to share our story, to be able to be an inspiration, not just for current law students, but for those who are in the middle of wanting to do it and thinking not to. If you are caught in the middle of thinking whether you should finally get to your dream, get to law school, become a lawyer, then do it and stay and finish the race, because you are here for a purpose. You are here not just for yourself, for your family, your friends. You are here for the country. And of course, lastly but definitely not the least, our professors, our deans. We are so thankful that we get to open up this avenue for conversation on mental health, especially when it's considered a taboo. So not everyone would be able to say that there's an actual anxiety, depression, panic attack happening during, before arrested, and even the minute things of what to wear so that your professor will not call you out for not wearing the right things and not looking the part and not looking like a lawyer, not looking lawyerly. Thank you so much to our professors and our deans for opening an avenue wherein it's free for us to speak out and it's free for us to be understood. It's time that we humanize the study of law, and we believe that we can only humanize it through you, through your help. And we are not here for ourselves, but you are building us to be lawyers someday. So thank you so much for all of you. And lastly, to Almighty God, because I believe we are not just here for ourselves, but our grit, our determination cannot exist without faith. So always have faith up there because He brought us here. Thank you.
Quotable quote. Being in law school has a purpose. Being in law school has a mission. So continue. Thank you, Tiff. Sorry. Thank you, Tiff. Mr. Sanders.
Okay. I will not be making quotable quotes.
I think kanina you were already giving quotable quotes.
Okay. So maybe I'll just keep it to what I remind myself sometimes when it gets a bit too much. So first, calm down. It's just school. You know, it's not. Especially if I'm also working, so I think it's a very eye-opening thing. I think if I went to school straight directly after undergrad, I would have been breaking down every week. But the good thing about having experience outside of law school is it's just school. You have other aspects of your life. You have family, you have work, you have other things that define who you are. So if you do bad in one class, it's not because you're worthless or you're stupid or whatever invectives they hurl at you. It's probably because you had a bad day or you were dealing with too much. So it's just school. I'm not sure. Maybe, hopefully in the future, if I become a lawyer, I can also say it's just work. Might be bad for the client who suffers. I'm sorry. No, but really it is. And sometimes some things don't work out. And I think the second thing I tell myself is, just recognize the things that you could have controlled or things you control, some things that were beyond your control. I sometimes tend to blame myself for things that were not even in my control. Trying to think maybe how can I prevent this in the future when I couldn't have any other way. So it's just trying to be self-aware of what can I do, what couldn't I've done. And if I did everything that I could have, then and things didn't turn out the way I wanted to, that's okay. I'll just have to accept it. You can't live worrying about things that you couldn't have done anything about. I think the third is also to recognize, set, and respect boundaries. And that applies to school and work too. If you have to prioritize. That's just life sometimes. Of course, we try to do our best in everything. But if it comes to time that you have to choose, you have to choose. So set boundaries for yourself. If you say, no, tonight I have to rest because my body's going to give out, you have to respect that. Because even if you ace that recitation tomorrow, if you're sick during midterms, it's not really worth it. Or if eventually you're going to live, 15, 20 years shorter because you put your body through so much abuse, it's not going to be worth it, right? So also recognize when other people are setting up their boundaries. Sometimes mental health discussions are rather solipsistic, right? It's all about me and what I feel. You also have to recognize patterns and signals of other people and how they try to express their mental status, right? So you could work with them better. Sometimes the people who have mental health struggles end up harming others with mental health struggles because they don't really recognize that other people have these struggles too, and expect them to be, just I don't want to say ordinary or normal, but people who don't really struggle as much. So just learn how to recognize that. Just be a bit more empathetic, and find other workarounds. What else? Fourth, and this is the most comforting for me, is you're okay even if you don't have all of those other achievements or laurels that are heaped upon you. You can find your way. It's always better if you take care of yourself. And just be a good person. There are a lot of excellent people who aren't really good people. And there are a lot of excellent people that people don't want to work with because they're tough. So often you can achieve more. Hi, ma'am. Hello. She's my prof in pub up. Hi, ma'am. So, I fully hope that eventually even not just law students open up about mental health, and not just law students get support for their mental health as it gets integrated into the curriculum. So I not as inspiring as Steph's, because that's who she is. Not a lot of flourishes. No, but the point. No. I'm not self-deprecating. I'm just saying, calm down. You're fine. We'll be fine. And if you need help, just be a bit brave enough to reach out. A person sitting next to you is probably going through the same thing. We're a room full of people involved in the legal profession. Don't tell me no one's ever experienced a little bit of this, So there's a sense of community in that. And then lastly, the thing, the one thing why I ended up liking law school was because of my block, right? It's a community, not competitive at all. it's always just a community. We're all working, so our mode is let's all pass, let's all get through this. So if you have materials or if you can take on additional work, I'll take it on. So parang saluhan. Like if someone can't do the work now, I'll take it on further. So it's always a community, and I think it's a very nice way of thinking about forming bonds in the legal profession. You all have the same title, so by default you're all competitors. It's no use making for more competitors. Just be nice, you know. Just help each other out and make the high stakes profession a bit more easy to bear eventually. And also would like to recognize the younger professors and the younger students who've made it their mission to leave the place a bit better than how they found it. Because there are people like that. The stories that we hear about their professors are like those who just want to hurt people, hurt students. They're really the exception now. And even if they are, the stories that we hear most often about, the stories that we remember, there are a lot of, there's a reason why there are also a lot of professors who are who are being very cognizant of mental health, who are being very sensitive of it, and who are also being proactive and saying, look, I went through the same thing. It's okay. You're okay. Calm down. So also want to recognize that. And we're looking forward to doing our part in leaving the place a bit better than how we found it too. Thank you.
Actually, Rob, no, not really. It's inspiring because actually, I think after this, we will have that kind of mindset. So the first one is calm down. It's just blank. So I think even if you're a law student, professor, administrator, wherever, even the prod team, you can tell yourself every day, calm down. It's just blank. You fill in the blank for yourself. Number 2, set boundaries. Number 3, be a good person. You can be the most excellent person in the world, but if you're not a good person, then it's nothing. And also, since you mentioned your block and your support system, maybe you want to give a shout out. Maybe they're watching.
Evening 2024 block for Eve 2. Yay!
Yay! So,
Ma'am Golda, baka naman bonus naman sa block namin.
Ay, baka naman, Prof. Yes, so thank you, Rob. Thank you.
Okay, so hi. First, I want to say a message to our deans, our professors, and even those in already working, practicing lawyers. So, whenever I get this kind of talks, I have concerned professors and concerned relatives who are lawyers. They say to me that, uy, wag mo naman sabihin ganyan kasi ma-hurt yung hiring capabilities mo. Malalaman nila may ganito ka, ganyan. So yun nga, we have stigma when it comes to mental health. But for me, I'd rather speak about it because I would be the first one to break that stigma. And it's already 2022. We should break free from that thinking. I will let my work speak for itself. And if that won't prove to you that even despite my mental health, that I can be a good lawyer, I can look for another job. You're not the only firm. You're not the only employment that I can have. So first, that for the deans and the professors and the practicing lawyers, I hope that you give chance to people like myself who have mental health to prove themselves. And second, throughout my journey, of course, I have been thanking my support system, my family and friends, my professors who have also been supporting me despite I transferred to one school. They have still been messaging me. I would also like to thank the people who deserve to be thanked, like the people who photocopy the cases, or those who print our documents, and also even the UV Express van drivers, the tricycle drivers. Every day when I was commuting, when it was still face-to-face, they would say, oh, attorney, kahatid na kita, ganyan. They really remind me that the law, of course, there should be more in law for those who have less in life. So they really remind me that I am here because there are people who needs people who will speak for them. So thank you to them. And lastly, for those who are experiencing the same issues as us, one quote that I have been reminding myself the whole bar season is that the ugly parts of your story would always be the powerful parts of your testimony. So just carry on and fight for it.
That quote is by you. I know.
I just found it. I just found it and I adopted it.
Yes, for copyright issues, to the author, the ugly parts of your story are the strongest, powerful parts of your testimony. So that is our quotable quote. So actually taking off from that, since you mentioned that we would also like to thank all the people behind it. Because people always think it's just the professors, it's just the admin. But actually there are a whole machinery. There are a lot of people behind the scenes. So actually, I was thinking about this, but since you open it, thank you, Lord, for this for this path. So first, I would like to request first our panel to, because you all mentioned this, that you are thankful for everyone who helped you along the way. So can we stand up, the three of us? Yes. And let's just give a round of applause to everyone that have helped you along the way. So whether they're watching or not, or via live stream, or they can't see you, let's give them a round of applause. Then let's give a round of applause for our audience, because they're all deans, administrators, professors, and of course, the LEAP Student Fellows. Hello, they're kaberks. So I want to also applaud them because they've also helped so many people along the way. And if they haven't been applauded before, let's applaud them now. So yes. And then, okay, let's sit down. And then last part. I would like to invite also the audience, except those who are students. If you can still sit down. Syempre, I'm not a student. So, ayan. Can we stand up? And let's give a round of applause to all of our law students around the Philippines. For all of their struggles, for hurtling through their struggles. Thank you very much. So this round of applause is for all of you. You can do it. So again, this ends our panel. So again, thank you, Tiff, Rob, and Nor.